Hi, this is Priyanka, and I welcome you all to Srijan Wednesday webinars. For those of you who are attending for the first time, this is a community initiative by Srijan Technologies. As a part of this initiative, we host webinars every alternate Wednesdays. We invite experts from different domains who talk on a variety of subjects like front-end technologies, UI/UX, mobile apps, media, entrepreneurship, digital marketing, community building, and many more. Today we will learn how you can get rid of your 10 years of theming headaches with Drupal 8's theming system. We will also demo Drupal 8's brand spanking new Beta 14 version, which was only launched a couple of days ago. I would request all participants to please type in any questions that you have during the webinar and the presentation, and we'll take them up in the last 15 minutes of this session. I would now like to introduce our speaker for today's webinar. We have with us Morten DK, or commonly known as Morten Birch. Morten is a themer consultant at Tag1 Consulting and runs his own Drupal theming shop called the Geek Royal. He has been building websites since 1996 and has been in love with Drupal 8 since the 4.7 version. Morten is a former Drupal Association board member and maintainer of Classy, a base theme for Drupal 8 core. He is also a writer for Drupal Watchdog, where he writes the Angry Themer column and is well known for his dirty tricks in Drupal theming. So while you get hooked on to Morten's presentation, don't forget to take this conversation live on Twitter using our hashtag SrijanWW. You can share your thoughts by tagging us in your tweets using our handles @Srijan and with Morten @MortenDK. So without taking up any more time, I think we should get started. Morten, over to you.
Yes. All right. So before we get started, because this is kind of funny for me to sit in a single office and ask questions out, I would like to just put out a quick little poll just so I get an idea of how many of you actually know about Twig and how many of you know about our new base theme, Classy, which is kind of the two biggest announcement we have around Jubilate theming. So this should come up all up on the screen now, and if you could all answer that, that would be really, really great. That should take like a very short time. So besides that, I would, while we're doing that, just give a quick shout out to actually getting a chance to do this webinar. This is my first webinar ever. I usually speak a lot of conferences, a lot of events around the world, but they've primarily been in Europe and the US, and a couple of times in Australia. I've never been all around the world, so and this is a really good chance for me to do that and spread the word of Jubilate, Twig and theming. So because we are worldwide and we should be worldwide, so thank you for giving me this opportunity. I don't know yet if if people have answered everything yet. If they have, I think we should get going. So. By the way, here's two things that you should download if you really want to rock this out. First of all, it's Jubilate Beta 14 that came out about 2 days ago, which you should download. And if you want to see the theme that I've been building here, you can download that up at my GitHub account, github.com/mortendk/webinar Srijan WW. Where I've put it up, and this is the last version of it. I pushed the last code up like 3 minutes ago for the fun of it. All right, so first of all, yes, me, Morten DK. That's the shortest version of my name. I have a web shop called Geek Royal, which is a theming stock shop. Been going on this for like 7 years. It's been me for the last year and a half. Been working with Tag1 Consulting as well as doing a lot of front-end work with them. I have, at the same time, I have a column in the only Drupal magazine, printed magazine in the world, called Drupal Watchdog. I have a column there called The Angry Themer. The last version issue that came out actually had a long featured article by me where I'm pretty much writing up a lot of things that I'm going to present here as well. The next version, next issue of Watchdog coming out, I will not have an article in because I've been using so much time on actually getting Jubilate out. And besides that, I'm also a Classy maintainer, and Classy is the new base theme in Jubilate, which you're all going to either love or hate. Probably going to figure out that first. So one of the things that is interesting around Drupal is this kind of Stockholm Syndrome that we as themers have had for a long time. So if you look at, this is Drupal 7 markup, right? There's panels with a lot of things dropped into it. And we end up having this whole Dependencies thingy running into it, which from some perspective has been like, it's called a feature in Drupal 7. And we have these like huge monoliths of PHP template files that tries to modify all our markup as well, which makes theming kind of a headache. And on top of that, we have what I call the class soup, which is, 5 classes to every div. So we have selectors for all of these things. And this has been a very a decision that we took about 3 years ago that there was no more. And we needed to stop that. In Drupal 8, we needed to rethink how we're doing theming. So we came in with a new theme engine, and it's called Twig. So basically what we've done is we've removed PHP template, and that means that basically all of the theme functions are now dead, which those of you who maybe developers really love doing everything as a theme function, you might gonna cry a little bit, but it's not for you. This is this is for themers to do and build themes. So in Twig, everything is a template file, which means that you will end up with a ton of template files, but that's okay, because what we want to do is we want to give the theme total control of the markup and the CSS. That's a very important thing for us. As themers, that's what we want to do. That's where we live. We live in the markup, we live in the CSS, we live by viewing source and modifying our stuff. So the first thing that you need to do now is, and I want to have you all to close your eyes for just a second, and then you will clean your mind for every piece of PHP template knowledge that you have. Because with that will make you ready to take the next step to a new and brighter spot that's also known as Trig in Jubilate 8. And what is Twig? Well, Twig is a modern template language, and apparently everything coming out right now is some kind of modern, but it's built by the same guys who gave us Symfony. It's a template, a theme system that is used by other systems, which means that we're getting off the Drupal island. And you know what? Here's the best thing. It's really, really easy to learn. So if you have never done Drupal before, if you've never done PHP before, if you're basically just a markup and CSS junkie, and you know how to build a website in HTML, then this would be really, really easy for you to learn. If you are used to other templating systems, this will make it even easier. So let's do a few really, really, really fast small things you need to learn. So put out on a template file is really easy. You have the 2 curly brackets, then you have your variable, and that's how you print stuff out. If you want to comment something out as well, you put a hashtag into it instead. So that's your comments. Oh, by the way, all of these slides are going to be provided afterwards, so no reason for you to take all kinds of notes instead. Just lean back and get your favorite beverage, if it's a water, a coffee, a beer, whatever you want, and enjoy the show. In Drupal 7, you remember when you have to get a variable out of the theme somewhere, you would go, you would get the variable, and you would try to figure out where it's located, and you would end up figure out it could be an array, it could be an object. It's hard to find. In Drupal 8 and with Twig, what we do instead is we drill into a variable. So if you have a variable, you can do by putting each dot into it, that will drill it further down. Sometimes it will be, if it has a hashtag in it, as you can see on the third line here, so also .this and add hashtags. Sometimes the way you need to get the data out. That's how Drupal and Twig works at this point. So let's say you have a variable and you want to do something with it. If you put in a variable and then add in the pipe symbol, then you can begin to call functions on it. And these are different Trig functions that you can do. We have a lot of them that's also built in for Drupal specific stuff, which you're going to see later on. So if you have a variable and a pipe on it, that means it does something. So we take the data and do something with it. For example, this thing, where I have my username, which is MortenDK, and I want to put that out in uppercase. Well, then I can do that. So you will also have PHP functions you can call here at the same time. If I want to translate stuff, as you can see at the first line, it says Copenhagen, then I translate it to the Danish version, København. Instead is I have my variable, my data variable, and then the pipe, and then the T. That's the good old T function that we had, that this is going to translate it. If I have multiple lines I want to translate instead, I can use the trans and the end trans. And that's how, by the way, all of like different functions is. So we have the percentage sign in anything in Twig. That means this is kind of a function, or it's doing an if or an else. I'm going to show that later on. The trans and in-trans will then take that whole block and make that translatable instead. So this makes things a whole lot easier to figure out and to add in. Twig as well gives us control, different like if, else, and for loops. So if the person is more than DK, well, he loves Drupal 8. I have other things to say about Drupal 7 that I'm not going to put in today. All data, by the way, is all escaped. So if you want to put data up that is not escaped, you have to use the raw function. So let's say this is sushi, and we want to have that raw. Got to put that out. And the reason for that is, we really don't want to have a theme system that's insecure. And security seems to be something a lot of developers really like, where maybe some of us who's in the front end is more prone to just get the stuff out, and this is one of the security things where you have put in. Another thing you can do inside of a Twig, which is actually pretty sweet, is create variables as you go, and I'm going to show you that why that is pretty sweet later on. But what you can do is you can do the set command. So here I set a variable called foo, and I set that to the value of bar. Then when I print out foo, what it does is it will actually just print out bar. So this way I can begin to, like on the top of my template, begin to do different manipulations of stuff instead of putting that out in the pre-process, because we want to have as much data, as much stuff of what we're going to do in a specific template. We want to put that into the template, so you don't have to jump from your pre-process function somewhere and over to the template. We want to put everything into the template. If you want to read more about the how Twig works and more specifics, go to twig.centrallabs.org/documentation. It will explain more in detail. But pretty much, if you gotten the last 6 slides, this is what you need to know by working in Twig. That's what you need to know. So that's basically Twig. But the biggest revolution that we actually did is actually this little thing. It's called Classy, and that's our new base theme in Drupal 8. And Classy don't have any looks to it. It do not have any CSS files that makes it pretty or printed out green or blue or red or anything else like that. Classy is actually way more interesting for themers, and there's a reason for that. So this is how core spit stuff out. Back in Drupal 7, core spit everything out: HTML, CSS files, and classes. All that came directly from Drupal 7. In Drupal 8, what we've done instead is to get all the data up, to get the HTML, to get the CSS, to get the classes out. We are actually, core is putting everything through a theme called Classy, which means you can now override this theme instead of what we did before. So if not only override it, you can also just ignore it, and by that you could do some pretty interesting things. So the way it works now is Drupal core sends a variable into Classy, and Classy then spits that out. So both 7 and Bardic relies on the markup in the CSS structure and the class names that Classy puts out. So here comes my theme in, and I'll go like, hey, what kind of markup do I want to work with? Do I want to work with Drupal's base markup, or do I want to just go with as naked version as I can? So here's my theme, and I've not defined any base theme. If I don't define any base theme, I'm going to get a couple of empty divs out, and those divs we might even going to remove just for the fun of it. And that's good for a bunch of themers who really want to be specific in how their markup and everything comes out. But what we have learned over the last couple of years is that we have a lot of front-end, there's a lot of people who build Drupal sites, also site builders, that want to have some kind of consistent markup and CSS coming out. So if I want to have that, what I'm doing, my theme file, I always go with base theme and then put it to Classy. Then I get the default markup that Drupal 8 is going to be putting out. And the good reason for that is now what we have done is we have made Drupal 8 independent of the markup that comes out. So if we figured out later on, Classy wasn't the right markup you wanted, you actually want to have some other specific kind of markup. You want to build, my own Classy, whatever we call it. Then you can actually override all of Drupal markup by basically just downloading taking the Classy theme, copy that, clone that, and then begin to override each template as you want them. Another thing we did in class is we've been grouping all the templates, because in Jubilate you're going to have a lot of templates. That's just what happens. I'm going to show you later on how I, by just beginning to build a theme, end up in like 20, 30, 40 templates, like really, really fast, because I really want to modify all of my markup. So the templates have also been blocked in different logical groupings. So we have block and content. Block is all the blocks. Content is your node, your template, so-called actually. And we've been trying to like put them into different groups. And each of these groups have a different purpose. So when you come in the first time, if you just want to take all Drupal's basic markup, copy that, clone that onto your own theme, then you can actually begin to get an idea of it. Else you would have about 150 templates just in one big folder. And we don't want to have that. We actually want to have some logic into it. So the first and most important thing when you start your new theme is if you want to have some kind of markup and some kind of class names with you, which is the default that Drupal works with, then in your theme, your info file, you're going to say base theme to class. If you don't do that, you're not going to get all the classes out. You're not going to get all the markup out, which people like me really likes. So let me just run through how we set up a Drupal theme, basically. First of all, if you look into your Drupal 8 folder, you would see that we have, down in the root, we have a folder called themes. And those who came from Drupal 7, and I'm pretty sure that's the majority of you guys, those who came from there, remember how you dropped your theme into the themes folder and then you were told everything was wrong. We've changed that now in Drupal 8. So in Drupal 8, modules and themes, the two folders out in the root, is actually where you can put in your themes. You can still put them in sites/all/default if you want to do that, but they actually lives now in your themes folder, which is, I mean, to me, is a pretty sweet little thing. So theme config has 4 important files that we're going to go into. The first one is your info file, and this is the info file that's going to register everything for Drupal to understand, hey, I have a theme here. So first of all, we have the basic info, name, what type it is, description. Here I'm using the base theme classy, what kind of package it's in, if it has a screenshot or not, and so forth. After that, I have my libraries. Libraries is really interesting. Libraries is where you add in CSS and JavaScript. So you don't add in CSS anymore just directly into your info file. Instead, you define the library where you can then package in your CSS. Because we want to do it the same way that modules do it, so we don't have different terminologies. So that's how you add it. I'm going to come into that. Then, if you want to remove a CSS file, you do it under the style sheet remove. And then we have good old regions that is going to show off. We're going to put in your regions into your page template so you can begin to have places you want to drop in your different blocks. So just to look into style sheet remove a little bit more. Here, what I want to do is I want to remove 4 style sheets that I don't need for my theme because I'm using classy. So the add classy in Drupal now knows that it should go down and look into my classy folder. And it goes and looks for the layout CSS file. The layout CSS file is a file we have in classy. So when we do test, it knows it's there. I don't need that file. It doesn't have anything in it. I just want to remove it. I don't want it. I also want to remove all system theme, all colors and stuff that system brings with it. And that's all put in the .theme file. So I want to remove that as well. I don't want to have the version of normalize that Drupal comes with. I'm going to use my own. And also, I don't need views and the CSS that it brings with me. So these 4 commands, each line here, will remove them. By the way, if anybody has questions or anything else, just put them in the question in the chats, and we're going to take that afterwards and go through that. So let's look into the libraries and how do I put in my CSS and JavaScript files. So in my info file, I defined a library. This point is called Yggdrasil, which is, just to make it more fun for everybody in the world to pronounce a thing that only Danes and Swedes and Norwegians and Icelandic can pronounce Yggdrasil, which is an Old Norse tree. But if my theme name was named that, it would be Yggdrasil and then global. Then you look into my libraries file, and what it does is, as you can see here, is it has the global, and then I have a definition of what kind of files I want to have into it. So you have a name, you have the CSS files, you do CSS and you do a theme, then you put in the different files that CSS files you want to add into this specific library. Then you do the same thing with JavaScript files. And here's a sweet thing. Then you put in dependencies. So let's say I don't want to use jQuery for my theme. I'm going to write vanilla JS. I can actually, if I don't add in dependency to jQuery here, it will not be included in my theme, unless, of course, a module needs jQuery. But else, I'm just going to have vanilla JavaScript if I want to do that. I don't want to have jQuery available. So that's a choice you need to do as a themer. Say, hey, I actually want to use jQuery. So let's say you want to ship your version of the theme with the newest and greatest version of jQuery. Now the 3.0 comes out. Well, you can just add that in here instead of going with core/jQuery. You don't have to add that dependency. You can just add it in as a normal JavaScript file. Another thing to watch out for, not watch out for, is actually the way that we group our CSS files is based on the way that Smax does it. So you have base and layout and component and state and theme. So if you want to build your CSS this way, you can follow the standards we're using here. And the reason we're using Smax is it's a very, very documented system for building really, really big sites. And it's kind of becoming a standard in the web development world, how to group your CSS, and that's the thing we go with Drupal core. If you want to do something else in your own theme, you can just do that. Nobody will stop you. Another little thing is, so one way you put in CSS is through the library. If you want to attach just a CSS file specific for a template, you can do that with the attach_library command, which is just a Trig variable, and then you can come in with it. So let's say here I'm in my book template and I want to add in the book navigation library from Classy. I can now attach that in, so you can begin to componentize all of your CSS. We have breakpoints as well built into the theme, which is responsive to images. So I'm not going to talk so much about that because we're going to talk about markup today instead, because that makes me really, really happy. But just so you know, you defined all your breakpoints in your theme where it should be defined. So your theme and your CSS and your breakpoints, all of that follow in the same package. For those of you who get panicking by thinking, oh my God, did we remove PHP complete from the theme? No, we didn't. We still have the .theme file, which was the same thing as PHP template. So the .theme file, and it uses exactly the same way. So especially for pre-process, so you can do a lot of the same things that you used to do. So especially developer guys, don't completely panic. We still have stuff for you. All right, so that's like the big headlines. Let's jump one step further down. So when you start up your site, what you first want to do now, and this is important, especially when you develop, that you want to copy your site's example settings.local PHP file. You go down there and then you copy that and rename it to settings.local PHP. Then go into a settings file PHP and uncomment in the very bottom of the file these 3 lines. If you do that, then your development life is going to be so much easier because you can actually see what happens on the screen. Because of security issues and performance issues, there's been a lot of things that have been removed. So Jubilate will work as optimal as possible out of the box. But you as a front ender sitting and just building your stuff, of course you want to see what happens, be able to drop out data and so forth. Another thing you should do is download the develop module and install both develop and Kint. If you don't use Josh already, install it and just do a Josh en, which is Josh enabled Kint, and get it to work. If you don't have Josh, go to docs.josh.org and look for the installers going through all those things. Then next up is disable the cache, because Jubilate comes with cache enabled from the ground up, which means that if you want to figure out where your stuff comes from, which CSS stuff you need to write, then things are not going to be so easy. All right, so let's just jump over here to my site and show you a really, really, really cool thing. So over here is my site. I hope you can see it as it is. Let me go. So down here in my service file, I'm just going to clean my cache really, really quick. So in your site, see here, here's your site, your default, and here's my settings.local. You also have a service file, and this is the service file we want to look at. So the service file down here has Twig config, and has Trig debugging. Let me just reload my site here. Let's see if it all explodes. It has a tendency to do that, and I hope people can see it. So if let's say I want to figure out where a thing comes from. I want to look over here in this file, this part of my node, and let me just make this as big as possible. Just hide all this stuff. So I want to look into this single file over here and figure out where it comes from. So in Drupal 7 and Drupal 8, out of the box, I just get all of this data coming out, right? And I have no idea where this comes from. Well, I can of course begin to like guess for it. This have like different field classes, so I know it's a field, and it says field name, field sidebar. Well, okay, then it begins to become a guessing game where my stuff comes from, and we don't want to use that. What we actually want, well, what we used to have in Drupal 7 was the theme develop module, which would then help us out showing stuff off. But look at this. This is really, really sweet. So instead of debug being false, let me just do this, get it up in size. Let's set Drupal debug to true, and also if you set auto reload to true as well, your site is going to be a little bit slower as you develop on it, but that's perfectly fine, because what you can, that's not what you're going to do when you have your live site. The reason for this is this. So I'm going here and I'm going to do a Josh CR, which is basically the clear cache. Let's get the font up a little bit. Let's rebuild. All right, so let's reload the page here and see what happens. All right, so let's go down here and look at this. So you can see that there's a ton of green stuff coming up on my screen. And all this green stuff is actually a thing you really want to use. So this now tells me that this is a field. Well, I kind of knew it was a field because I know how Drupal was built, but I didn't know what field template I could use. And as you can see here, it has all of these different names for everything around. And I want to figure out, where does it come from? Which field name do I want to override, and what can I override with it? So it has this little X in front of it that says which template I'm even using. And if we go down here for the next one, this is really sweet. It says, well, my output is from themes, and my theme name is webinar templates field HTML. This is where my output is coming from. So if I want to work with this, I go into my themes to my webinar, and this is all of my templates, and then I actually have my field right here. So if I load in one of the other templates and I rebuild my cache, it will actually load that template in here. So now as a themer, you don't have to guess for this anymore. We have built that right out the box. And if we look through here how a page actually begins to look, you can see there's a ton of stuff coming out. This is all of the templates that Drupal spits out. This is actually data we want to know where it comes from. So let me just do this little trick here. This is a little extension, by the way, I built. So if I want to know, which template I'm actually using over here to build this up, I can just, go in here and I can see, oh, this is the field --node-title it's loading, and it's actually loading from here. So now I always know where stuff comes from. So that was the first part of a live demo today. And just to make sure that everybody is with, this is how it works out. I can even do one better. Here's Kint. Let's go and see what Kint does. Where my node article. So I'm just going to uncomment this line. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So Kint is what we used to have back in Drupal 8. That was Chromo, Drupal 7. So we used to we would do like Chromo and then some bar name. What we do now instead is Kint and then the variable. And the variable here is like the big content. If you remember, this one, print content. We don't do that stuff anymore. We just do, content instead. But now I want to know, okay, what's actually in content. So I just do a Kint content, and let me just close this one out, and let's see what actually happens. I hammered on something. Let's just roll down here and see what goes on. All right, here we go. And now I begin to have all of my, I can see here all of my fields, I printed out all of my data, and I begin to like drill into that and figure out if I want to get the title out, if I want to get all this. So I have all this nice data now I can just access. So basically, it's not like rocket science, but it's just, you know, a sweet little thing to have. Let's go back to the presentation. So Kint is like crew mode for Jubilate, so get that in. So Trig debug, go into sites, all default services, change that little variable to true instead, do a JOS CR, which is same as JOS CCR back in Drupal 7, and then you're going to have all of the variables, all of the templates that you can like use and override parts of Drupal with, and Kint on any kind of variable that you want to get out. So Drupal 8 still keeps the same structure as we did back in 7, which means that we have the HTML.html.twig file. We have the CSS and JavaScript and header stuff in it. Then we have the page template that puts everything around that. Then we have a bunch of regions, and each of these regions is, as you can see, there's a template name on everything. So everything here is a template that calls another templates. And then we have inside of a region, you can have all kinds of things. You can have a view, you can have a node, you can have a block, and even inside of a block, you can have that as well. Then inside of the node, or actually as well as a block or inside a view, you're going to have, you know, all kinds of nice little fields. Actually, you're going to have a ton of fields when you're done doing a site. Because now that we begin to modify our stuff the way that we want to write our CSS and our markup, you know, it begins to be so nice to actually be able to do this stuff and build it so you can just jump in and override stuff. So that's what's going to happen. But let's look at a thing here, how to control the markup. Let's say I don't want to use Drupal's usual way to do the markup, and of course I don't want to use Drupal's usual way to markup because I have a very specific markup I want to build. So here's a quick node HTML file. Just for showing. So here I have a very specific thing. It says content. This is a content variable that you saw just before. And then you do the pipe and then without. And then all of these different links and field image and field tags. So the without function is really sweet. What without do is it takes a variable, we add the pipe in, we go with the Twig function without, and then we have a name. And this name refers to each field. So you want to print out content, but you want to print it out with some of the fields on it. Because then you can begin to split out these fields and put them in your template as you want them. So here's my layout, how I want to build. I have content over here, and I have image, and I have tags. This is how the layout should be. So if I just print out content, it will print out tags and text and image in any way I put it into my Drupal site. We don't want to do that. We actually want to be able to move it around. So let's say I want to put it over here in the left bar. So I do a content without image, and then I do content.image, and I can print that out. I can place it anywhere in my markup, in my template, where I want to do that. And I can, if I do the same thing now with the tags, I do the same thing. One of the good things about this is we could do this very easy in Drupal 7. If you just didn't print out content, and you will then print out each variable as you needed them, then the problem with that is like further on in the project, you know, somebody puts in a new field comes in, and we want to put in this new field somewhere. If you don't print out in 7, that stuff wouldn't come up. Now in Drupal 8, what does it do? Because I still print out the content variable, which is kind of where everything comes through. It's just going to add that new field into the variable and be there, and my image and my tags is still going to be split out. So any new field can build this. So this way, I can put over to my right side. I can do content.fieldImage. I'm going to put that there, and do my tags. I want to put them in the top. So now inside the template, inside of the node template or the field template or whatever template it is, you can begin to split up the data. So we don't have this monolith of a variable that comes out. As I showed you before, we have the overriding of fields and how we're going to do that. So let's say here in my node HTML.twig file, I have content.field.tags, and I want to do something with that. Normally, we would just print out the field. But if I go in and say look at my view source, I can see I have all these different field name suggestions. So if I copy fields, and I move that over to, let's say I call it field -- node -- field text -- article, and this is very specific. This is for the articles. This is articles and node, and this is the field text. This field, I'm going to be very specific of how that is going to be printed out. So Jubilate will now understand to use this templating and see that by the X over there. Then inside of my field, what I can do now is I can begin to override exactly as I want to do this. And here what I want to do is I'm going to take each link from an icon for a tag. I'm going to print that out as item.content, which is the content of the item and the URL. I'm going to do item.content.title, so I'm going to use the title for a tag to use that as a class name. And then still on my title, I want to still print out the title because, you know, we still want to have our markup to be correct. And that will actually end giving me up this kind of markup directly out of Jubilate without any hassle. And it's only going to be this field and no one else. So, and as another thing, what we're going to do here, and as you might have seen, is these attributes that we're working with. As you can see, attributes.add classes up here in my field template. Let's just jump into them very fast because this is actually where it's really a thing you're going to love. So I have a div with attributes on, and attributes can be a class. It could be like some kind of data area. Elements, all kinds of good stuff. JavaScript can use a lot of this. You can do, and even notes, you can do really sweet shit stuff with data attributes and CSS and so forth. So you want to add that in. In Drupal 7, you know, Drupal just put out there's like chunk of data, which is just a string with all the class names. And what we're doing, so you could try to do something with that in 7. You could do a pre-process, you could do a TPL file, do a theme function, trying to remove all this stuff. And it would be usually like resetting that whole string and rebuilding it again or something like that. What we're doing in Jubilate is exciting. Take the variables and we put them into Classy, and then Classy puts this stuff out. And you can modify these things, these special classes, directly from your template. How are we going to do that? Well, here we see my node HTML file, and as you see up at the top line, it has set classes, tags and field, and then entity type, and then field name classes. This sets a variable that we can then use down another attribute.add classes, and then set the classes. This is in each and every template that you're going to look into. Let me just jump quickly over so you can see I'm not completely full of lies. As you can see up here, this is my node article, and it prints out all of these different classes. And if I actually do this, add class, and do classes, let's see if I break everything. The chance of me breaking everything is pretty high. Let's see, let's go up and inspect the element. Where we at? Here we go. All right. See if we make it even bigger. If I want to scroll here. All right. So look at all of these classes we're putting out. We're putting node type article, node promoted, node view teaser layout. All of this stuff. Stuff now gets generated directly up here in my class. So let's say I don't need node, and actually I don't want to not call it node. I want node content type. I don't care if it's promoted or it's sticky or if it's unpublished. The view mode, yeah. But I'm just going to call it node view mode instead. Let's reload this stuff and see what happens. And see if I'm actually right. Oh, hello. Node content type article, node mode teaser layout, and so forth. So now my node article actually explains to Drupal what kind of classes it want to have in. If I don't even want to have these classes, I'm going to have in like this layout class, which I want to add in. Yes, as you can see, I've just shifted to Sublime Text 3. So for my old 2, I haven't renewed my license yet. I should be doing that really fast. Kind of embarrassing. Anyways, I have my version 2. And now we're down here. So contextual region still gets out there. I use that. It's like Drupal admin stuff. It puts out so we can figure out when we want to edit stuff. But now I only have my layout, and the rest of this data here. Actually, if we do something like, see here, let me just go over in an anonymous mode, just so you can see how actually the we begin. There we go. I still have my quick edit data and the stuff that comes with us out, but this is all the data that we actually need, and we have our layer class that we want, and we could control that. Even, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can remove class. What's it called? Contextual. This is where that's just for the fun of it. Where did it go? No, you know what? Never mind right now. No, let's just shoot contextual region. Let's see if I didn't get that killed. Oops. Remember the classes here. So as you can see, I got a big nasty error message. Yeah? Where did my classes go? This is always the fun thing about doing live demo stuff. Where do we go? Here we go. Boom. Now the only class I've added here is my layout class for each of the for my node. So that's how you do that. As you see, I set up all this as classes. On attributes of add classes, I add in that class. So if I have a field name, text and field name, I'm going to get field and field text. I can remove a class, as you saw. I removed the contextual region from my classes. I do that as well, and that actually means that because what we're going to do here in Jubilate is we're going to make sure that you're only going to get the classes that you need, and the classes that you need could be like essential stuff. We're going to have an essential class like is visible, is hidden, which Drupal core would provide. It calls to be JavaScript classes. Then, if your module want to add in a class, you do the var attributes and also use add class. So a module can put out class names as well. And the theme can do the same thing as well with the attributes of add class. That's how we're going to do that. Let's say I want to remove the module that put these class names out. I just add in those classes. I can even do that with the core elements as well. So I just kill each one of them as I want to. You have JavaScript stuff that you're probably going to have that you don't want to mess with. So if Drupal really needs a JavaScript class name, it's going to have that in here printed in, and then you're going to have the same name for a class that we need to do, like put green colors on, like padding and margin and so forth. JavaScript classes JS-something is not meant to be ever used for any kind of design or anything else. That's a thing that JavaScript use as a selector. Reason for that is we don't want to have themers suddenly by accident removing that. So to add up all the attributes, what you can do here is I have a div class here. I have my attributes. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to add in a hero main class. I'm going to set an attribute. I'm going to put an ID in for this and call it top. And then this is the kind of mark I'm going to get out. So now in the fancy world of Jubilate, you actually have complete control over the classes that we put out, which is pretty sweet if you come in, let's say, with a framework of some kind. I don't know what happened there. Let's just go back to my presentation there, which you can actually put in. So if you use a framework, some kind of CSS framework, you can actually just modify your whole Drupal theme to use those classes and ignore all the stuff that Drupal puts out. Another thing that would come into Jubilate, and I can see I've talked for like 45 minutes, better wrap this thing up quick. I hope you're all following along. Is a Twig blog. I'm just going to show you this really quick. So the idea behind the Twig blog is that we can exchange elements on a page. So here I have my page HTML file, and on my front page, I want to put in a specific element. And it used to be the way that you have the page and you have the page -- front, for example. Now instead, by the Twig blog, what I'm going to do there is I'm going to have my page, I'm going to have a block, and that block can then be extended. So my page HTML will have a hero block, and that hero block can then, if I do an extend on a new template file called page-front, I can then inject this data directly into this file. And that gives me a lot of possibilities of adding in specific regions, so you would only have one major markup file, or you have a field, and that field you want to extend at some point, and so forth. All right, I've been almost for 45 minutes, but let's, you know, what could possibly go on if I do a little bit of live demo stuff? And I think a couple of times have promised people to actually show them how to kill, you know, Dependencies once and for all. So, so let's jump over here to my file, and let's go in here. It looks like I did something funny with my menu. Let's just, what did I actually do? Did I print out something? Oh, let me see. I decided to print out all of my attributes. There was no reason for that. Oh, by the way, now I'm here. Let's just see if it want to reload. Come on. Really? Let's just kill the class. Okay. Why is this always happening in the live demo? It's just how it is. Okay. Because I am an idiot, I'm trying to do this stuff on the okay. Here we go. Yes, I'm officially an idiot. I'm sorry about that, guys. This is kind of what happens when you go live. All right, it should work now. Come on. Yes. Okay, let's start by looking at the menu just for the fun of it. Anybody here who have been in Drupal long enough know exactly how painful it is to theme a menu. Let's just scroll down to look at it. So, you know, this is my menu now in Jubilate. And we can see here it calls one menu file, navigation menu --main HTML.Trig. Let's go over and look at this file. So, this, my friends, is the whole of a menu file. This is the only file you need to do funny things in a menu. So let's look at this. As you can see here, it prints out a menu -- item right now. And this is one of the old things that we still have from Jubilate, and we don't want that. So it prints out this normally. Let's just uncomment this and do this. So remove class, menu item. Let's, as you can see, I prepared from home like any good TV chef. Boom, here we go. All right, so that was pretty sweet, right? We could even go in and, you know, instead of me using the link format, let me just, you know, be very specific on what I want to print out. And I might have a special class. I want to make all of these like blue. All of the links. Let's see what happens then. Boom. As you can see here, I now have only one menu, and this menu prints out the stuff as we need it. Even my external link to Jubilate. Let me just remove this class, and you can begin to do like funny little things of like doing if else and stuff as well on a menu. So so you can do that. Anyways, let's actually the thing I just want to show off. Let's go down here. So let's look at this. This is over here we have the single item. Let's go up here again. Okay, here we have the single item. I could jump over to the structure, no reason for that. This is just a single item of a text field that you can edit it on and so forth. But I don't want to have 3 divs around this. I don't want to have like all of these classes. I don't need all this stuff. So I can do something else. And what I've done in this version is actually go in here and get my, as you can see, as I said, you can get a lot of fields if you're very specific on the kind of markup. What I've done here is some kind of crazy, actually some really crazy stuff with the preprocessing of field. take the elements, and then I begin to count on everything and figure out what's actually printed out in this element. And now I have, as you said, the variables. I can use these variables for different things. So let me just jump over here to my field. As I said, I cheated from home. So let's load this. Let me see here. All right. So the reason I do this is like you don't want to like constantly like do spelling errors. So I'm gonna load in a new template, and I have this divisive-free template up here. And here you need to clear the cache. You can also do that. Just here, boom. All right. Let's see if everything explodes. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so far nothing died. And whoopsie, what have we got here? Let's just look at this in all of its glory. I have a single field data that comes out, and it only gives me this. It still gives me all these classes over here. And let's, just for the fun of it, let's kill them as well. Why? Because we can. Let's actually all these. We can also just do, let's just do a single class in this. Webinar rules and stuff. Actually, let's go with green instead. Let's add in a new green class. And then I can just remove the other things as I don't want to have them in there. I don't need those fields, I don't need their stuff. Hallelujah. Only one class on it, nothing else. Green and field item. A field item can go in and kill as well. No reason to add that in. It's a single field. Let's go down here. Boom, boom. Let's just see here. Let's kill it completely. Whoopsie. Is this actually, this is Drupal markup I used in this template, and I still have the quick edit stuff. So if I want to edit on my site, this is going to be exciting to see if I can, where did it go? Did I actually kill it? I think so, of course it did. So my structure over here, let's just go and show you the content type. This is my article, manage fields. It's my sidebar. As you can see, if you're going to look at my sidebar, it's, you know, it's a single field limited. I always only, this is what prints out, only one field. I don't want to have any wrap div or anything else on it. And I want to be able to control the markup around it completely. That's how we do that. Let's just jump back here. So this is the Divitis issue. This is one version of how to kill it. If we're still 6 hours away from actually having a solution for this. If you go to tinyurl.com/Divitis, you're going to go over to that issue. For the functions, let's just jump over there so you can see how it has 301 comments right now. So I'm just going to let it load in the background. This is our biggest issue that we still have not gotten into Drupal core yet. We're at beta 14. We are 11 majors away from being done. So we really hope to get this one in. Let me see if it's finally loading. Yes. So the idea is to actually end up having pretty much a template like this, so you can completely control what comes out of everything. Please, if you have, if you want to help out, come and help us out with this issue, because it's a huge one. It's kind of the last big one. We removed all the IDs, removed a lot of the other things we don't need. So, whew, we're down to like, I've talked for 15 minutes, Jesus. Here's a bunch of links, drupal.org/theme guide/8. There's a guide that's written about how to theme in Drupal 8. If you want to know more about our coding standards for CSS, how we're using BEM and Smacks, read that. If you want to know more about Smacks and how that's done, smacks.com. Trig Sensio Labs, .org/documentation, it's Trig documentation. You should really now, if you're a front end or you build themes, you build designs and so forth, we really need you to come in and help us out now by testing stuff out. Just by me for the last 2 days building a theme, and like playing around with all these things and trying to figure out how I can be as specific as possible on my markup have made me find a lot of things we want to make better. We want to issues that we want to find this out. We need to do quality control. So please, we're down to bed. We are on beta 14. 11 bloggers is left. We want to have as many people as possible to come in and help us out test the theme engine and the front end. If you want to help out with this, follow the hashtag Drupal Twig or go in on RSC as well. And as Drupal on Freenode, Drupal-Twig is the channel that we're hanging out in, where we coordinate a lot of the work, we talk and discuss a lot of these things. It's not so much a support channel as it is a discussion channel for a bunch of front-end devs and back-end devs to help out and figure out how to do this. If you want to listen out into our weekly meetings every Thursday at 5 Central European time, and as this goes all around the world, I have no idea what that time is going to be in your time zone, but at least at my time zone, it's 5 o'clock each Thursday, and we're going to do this until we have release candidate out. So with that said, I don't know how long we're going to have this running, but I'm always happy to talk with this. Please put in any questions you have now. Else use Twitter. Use Srijan WW for Wednesday's webinar as a hashtag. Also questions, comments, feedback, and so forth. Push them to me, Morten DK, which is my Twitter address account, and and go with that. And let me just see if I can.
Thank you so much, Morten. Whoa, that was a really great session.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks a lot for walking us through these amazing changes in Drupal 8 theming system and giving it this demo of Drupal 8's latest beta version. We have a whole lot of questions to whole lot of questions to take up, so we'll quickly take them up one by one.
Let's go with them and see how much I can actually show out live. And by the way, just to make sure that people know, this is the HTML version of the page that I first did. And let's just look at the markup for the fun of it. As you can see, I've been trying to this is markup where I try to keep it as clean as possible using class names to define everything in. This has not been because what I wanted to do here is show off how you can actually change stuff as you need it. And if we go over here to my live site, and let's go over to the front page, and we're going to look at this. By the way, this little fun thing I did over here is kind of sneaky. And actually, how I did it is I can just show you that off right now, and as we wait for questions. I hope they come in somewhere. Else I'm just gonna keep talking and showing you some of this off. So,
we have just sorry to interrupt. We have so many questions right now. We have a flurry of them, literally. So as soon as you're done with this, we'll quickly start taking up the questions one by one.
Oh, you could just go with the questions. I just wondered if you have them all collected. Else I was going to show off how I did this part, because this is as a little markup nerd, this was pretty fun to be able to actually build my stuff directly as I wanted to. So I can keep talking about this for days.
I'm sure you can, but let's just quickly move on to the questions. So our first question is somewhat related to the demo itself. So somebody has asked, I didn't see the first and last classes in the menu. Are they gone? And if they're gone, how do we add them back?
Well, okay. So if you want to have first and last classes in a menu, let's see here. Let me just find my menu, navigation, menu main. Let me see if it's so what you would do is you're gonna do think it item dot first, and then you would do and then if, and then you can go in and you can like do your add class first. So first and last classes in a menu is needed if you're using very old browsers. Else, what I would do was in my CSS instead. Let me just take this file. Is I would go with first child instead. So you would do like menu.li first child. Background red instead. Actually using CSS selectors to do this. This is, of course, this is, can't remember if I can. If you check out can I use, you can figure out what you can actually use these elements. So first child, for example, here is supported also for IE 8. So if Drupal 8 is supporting actually from IE 9 and up, so we also kill support for IE 8. But if you want to do that, you can just, I would use first child instead as a selector. If you're going before that, you would go in your menu and instead, do something like this instead. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I hope so too. Hans, if you have any more questions, please feel free to type in. We're really short on time here. In fact, we have overshooted the time limit, so we'll try and work with a 1 minute per question time frame here. Just another quick reminder. Yeah, just another quick reminder to everyone that you can also take this conversation live by tweeting using our hashtag SrijanWW and tagging Morten using MortenDK and our handle @Srijan. So we'll quickly move on to our next question. Rajiv wants to know that you said we do not have theme functions now. So what about preparing variables, which we used to do with pre-process functions?
Well, pre-process you still have. We still have the pre-process. Pre-process is all over the place. And the reason that we want to move everything away from theme functions was a theme function, what it basically did, and a lot of instances, it pushed out everything, a lot of markup, a lot of stuff that we actually want to have in a template instead. So begin to think it in this way that you're going to prepare all your variables and so forth inside of your module, and then you push those variables to a template file instead. But and pre-process we still have, as you saw the way that I'm doing all this like div killing here. Our pre-process, we have them all over the place. But the theme function by itself, we really don't want to have that. So either put it in a pre-process, prepare a variable, and send that variable out to the template instead. That way you will give the themer the chance to actually manipulate stuff instead of having a themer to run around in circles and trying to figure out where data comes from. Put it out into a template instead. We really want to change the way that we are building, the way we're thinking themes. So theming is becoming like its own first-class citizen in Drupal 8 instead of being this like afterthought. Yes. By the way, I'm perfectly fine by staying and doing questions. I still have warm coffee and water. So if you guys want to keep running, I'm perfectly down with that and just answer all the questions people have right now.
Yeah, that would be great. We'd really appreciate that. We'll just quickly.
Oh yeah, totally. Let's just keep going. I mean, I'm here anyway, and I'm just sitting having a blast.
Okay, we'll just quickly take up a couple of more. Rajiv, I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question, please feel free to type in. Our next question is by Manjeet, who's saying that Drush is not working with Drupal 8, and I'm using Windows 8. Any idea why?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm a born and bred front-end nerd. I've been on Macs since '95. I have no ideas of Windows and how to make Josh work. I'm pretty sure if you go out and let's just see here, go Josh and just Google Josh, and let's see here, get up Josh, Josh. So this is kind of where all of Josh lives, and here's also the installing and upgrading, and here should be, let's see, at least I know how to get it to work on a Mac. If you can't get it to work and you just want to clear your cache all the time, what I would do instead, which is find out where we're at. There we go. Here's my webinar, and I killed my admin menu. Let me go and get my manage. And by the way, the reason that my menu looks like this is because I did some heavy changing in the CSS, and this is, by the way, still on alpha. So what you do is you go over in your config, and you go into performance, and then you have this wonderful button, clear cache, which is going to be maybe a little bit painful when you have to do that, and you need to clear your cache when you add in a new template. That's when Drupal needs to understand, hey, he put in a new template, he or she put in a new template, let me just find that. So what I would do in that case, if I don't have Josh installed, I'm not comfortable really to work in in the terminal. I have way more fun to be in my markup world. But then what I would do is simply just having two windows open. Let's close everything else here down. I would have two windows open, and one would be just my site as I work with it, and then just jump over to the other window and just click the button. It's different if you click the button or you go as me, like here, just CR. It's the same function that happens. It's just a quicker and faster way to do that. I hope that answered the question. And I have no idea of Windows 8. Sorry, mate.
All right, thanks a lot for trying your best to answer it. Next question is by Alex, who is saying, hi Morten, Alex from South Africa here. When talking about Twig variables, you recommended you keep as much programming logic in the templates as possible. Doesn't this go against the best practice of keeping logic and presentation separate? I was always taught, sorry, it's slightly a longer one, so I'll just continue.
Yeah.
I was always taught one shouldn't have large amount of programming language within the template files. Thanks for the great talk.
Yes. So here's the thing. A lot of these things is logic that's built into the way we want to present the markup. And one of the things we tried to do in Drupal 7 was we were trying to put as much into the module, and the module then gave you a chunk of markup. And that markup you just have to accept and work with that. That meant that we ended up having all of these, we had to work around how Drupal put stuff out. And that's not how we want to work with the markup. So yes, a lot of what we want to do is we want to present variables to the system, and then those variables we can use in the template. And it's basically like if and else commands. So if we look at my big and nasty template up here, this is the field where I killed all the bits. What I'm having here is like a couple of if and else if. So this says if it's multiple content, I want to put this out, else I'm going to put this out. If label is not hidden, I want to print out the label. If there's multiple items, I want to put out a wrapper around that says real items. And those kind of ideas around it. So a lot of this is just, not a lot, like 99% of this is simple places where we want to structure another markup into it. If we try to hide that away from the themer, then what the themer is going to do is probably something bad, like do regular expression inside of the template or some other preferably dumb thing to go around it. We would much rather push this data out. You don't want to put logic like here's the database and how you do that. That's not the kind of logic we want to put in. The logic we want to be able to figure out here is like, I want to test on my label display, is it visually hidden? If label display equals visually hidden, I want to present a class name that's called visible hidden. And that class name I want to put into my title attributes for the class. So if I have a label and that label is visually hidden, I want to add that class in so I keep my markup the right way. This is, you could quote unquote call it like front-end logic instead of back-end logic. So this is all elemented based on what kind of markup do we want to put out. We would never do, and that's actually one of the big issues we have in Drupal 7 and so forth. Like you could do so many really like by coincidence dumb thing in the theme layer, because it was kind of, you could with PHP you could do all these things. Now we are actually locked into a system where as long as the module gives us the variables, we can do something with the variables, but we're not able to do anything else with them. So we use them to test, and say, oh, if user have set this button to be green in a preference somewhere in the system, well, then I'm going to print this markup and also going to print that markup out. So if you later on figure out, I want to change my markup because something broke in some browser somewhere, or we changed the way we're building everything, like happened when we went from HTML4 to HTML5, a lot of us began to change the markup, and it was such a pain to do that in Drupal 7 because a lot of the markup was hidden down in modules and so forth. We want to have all the markup, everything out to us as themers to be able to change that. So yes, you are taught right by not putting all of your business, but your business logic as a backend is not how a label should be displayed. That's a setting that we put inside of the module. That module prints that out, and that's two different kind of markup that we want to print out. So the business of figuring out which way it should be done is done in the module. It figure out how my label is going to be shown, and then we give that variable to me into the theme, and then in my theme I say, well, if let's say my label display should not be visible hidden anymore, and I call it like I just call it no. Thou shall not see. If I put this in instead, this would be my new I have a CSS framework that uses these kind of classes, or maybe it's just using a class called hidden instead of visually hidden. I can now change all of these things as I need to change them, instead of having to use a week and a half to figure out where did Drupal do this, then trying to like replace stuff and remove stuff and so forth inside of a module somewhere. And we want to put out all the logic of this kind of logic out to the theme. We don't want to put the system logic in. Oh, I hope that answered the question. But yes, this is a thing that freaked out a bunch of developers. Actually, developers should be happy because we're taking on all the pains of a million browsers, non-documented HTML and CSS, all of the devices, all of our mobile phones and so forth, taking all of that pain up. So, and we take the talk with the designers. So if you just give us the variables, we're going to make all of your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful backend code to look as awesome as it should be. And that's that's kind of the goal with this. So we can actually have a true separation of front end and back end. I hope that answered the question. I'm sorry for the preaching here.
All right. Alex has already typed in great answer. Thank you so much, Morten. So we'll quickly move on to our next question by Iran, who's saying, I'm running a migration project from Drupal 6 to Drupal 8. Do I need to build the theme from scratch?
I would totally do that. First of all, if you're building on a Drupal 6 site, your markup and your CSS pretty much need a big kiss. But what you can do actually is, and why I would build it from scratch is, we have changed so many class names, so much stuff around, and from Drupal 6 to 7 to 8, that this is look at Drupal 8 in the theme layer as a complete revolution. We try to wipe everything out and start all over. That's been the goal from the start. And by Drupal 8 already being such a big change, I would totally do that. Also, going to be a fun exercise to actually figure out how Drupal 8 theming works. And what you should do is you should start that work right now, and then you should help us out finding all the bugs. But I would start from scratch. I would rely on the classy markup that comes out, set base theme to classy. Rely on that markup. That's the markup that Drupal will provide out of the box. Use that as your guiding point if you don't want to write every class yourself and so forth. Take your old markup, figure out how you're going to build that, and actually begin to look into how you can make it better and make it responsive as well while you're at it. And by the way, this is a sweet little thing. We in Drupal 8 we have this little thing called responsive images. So like putting that in as well while you're at it. But yeah, I would totally start up from scratch. It's going to be such a headache if you don't do that.
All right, thanks a lot. Actually, we have two questions by this participant. His first question is, in Drupal 7, we used strip tags to remove HTML tags from the output. How can we manage that in Drupal 8 themes?
Well, so strip tags, so by default, everything is escaped. So let me just find the slide here. It was down somewhere. Here we go. Trig. So let me get this up in the big version. So everything in Drupal 8, all data out is auto-skipped by default. So if you really want to have stuff out that has markup in it, or potentially polluted data, you need to do like a -war on it. Else, it would just be escaped. And that's been an old security issue. That was one of the reasons that we changed to Twig. So that should hopefully just do that for you, if you want to do that. Else, having markup coming from a module, for me as a front-ender, that makes me turn around in my grave and yell at a module or the data that comes in. We still have markup. Let's say here, like we have our site. Let me go into my content here, and this is my file. Let me go in and edit it. So we still have markup that comes out, that can come out of this, and you have different formats. So that will still be taken care of. Honestly, I have at the back end of all of this, I have no idea. And if I need to be dead honest, I really don't care, because the only thing I really care for is this is the world for a lot of front-enders. As soon as you guys come out with your development stuff, all your fancy back-end thingies, when that comes out, well, what we just want to have out is we just want to be able to modify the data you give us and put it out in the best way possible. And that's been always been the dream that we want to do. So here, for example, what I'm doing here is, if you look here into the markup that prints out, so this is the field it puts out. They put out an H1 tag up here, put out an H2, and put out a strong tag inside. All of this part, this is coming from the module. This is coming from the input. This is actually a block. So actually we need to go on the structure. That's a fancy little thing. Blocks, by the way, now you can build custom blocks. The good thing about custom blocks. So here I built my hero for the front page. As you can see, yep. Let me just jump back to the site. Ta-da! So as you can see, this is just a bit straight up. So it still comes out, but besides that, we're cleaning out. Everything is going to be cleaned up by default. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes. So there are more people coming in. There are more questions flowing in. So we'll just quickly try and take up as many questions as we can right now. Yeah, I request everyone.
Go with it.
I request everyone else who still have questions to please either take them up on Twitter and just tweet it out.
I can keep on going as long as you guys want to keep on going. I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think we'll take up all the questions that we've received so far, but after that, I think it will be a great idea if you guys can actually drop a mail at webinars@srijan.in, so we can put all the questions together and get them answered for you by Morten, or you can just reach out to him on Twitter at his Twitter handle. Quickly, so our next question here, it's more like a second question from Pradeep himself. His question is, we have lots of files in our theme folder as compared to the D7 template engine. Will it not affect the performance to compile the file and render the result?
As far as I know, no. And this has been a thing that was actually been hammering on a lot. First of all, I'm pretty sure that you're going to cache your data, right? If you ran a Drupal 7 site without caching your data, your site would be slow. And it's the same thing here. And so, no, it might gonna be a millisecond or something like that. But I mean, when you cache your stuff and you throw it, if you're running really, really big sites, you're gonna have varnish on top of that anyways, and so forth. So all of these things have been taken care of. And believe me, we have 35,000 developers with Git access who have all been extremely yelling at us for making sure that the site didn't get slow because of this, because of all of the the template files that we have. And yes, the classy has 140 files or something, but no, it's of course there's a little hit, but when you have Varnish, you have Drupal cache, you have all of these things on top of it. I mean, if we ran it directly out without having any kind of theme layer on top of it, that would be extremely fast. And if you want to make it even faster, just make flat HTML sites. That's like the fastest version you can get. It's been tested and tested and more tested, so I wouldn't be panicking about that. Of course, if you're running a site with where you want to use like Drupal's front end and you drop having cache and everything on it, you just like push it out raw, you probably want to do something else with your site anyways. So no worries about that, I would say.
Okay, no worries, Pradeep, no worries at all. All right, our next question is by Manjeet, who wants to know, as we are using Twig templates in the theme, why are we using PHP in the .theme file? Is there any particular reason?
Well, because the system is built in PHP, and the theme file is kind of where so you have your we're going to have issues or places where your Drupal site want to manipulate some kind of data in a deeper way. One of my goals have been trying to not do anything inside of the theme file. The reason I did that was when my template file begins to be really messy to look at, if there's a whole ton of if else, and for loop and so forth, all of these things like comes in, and a ton of them, your theme file can be very, very messy to look at. So at that point, I would clean out some of my if-else statements and so those kind of tests, make them to a single variable, put that stuff in a pre-process, and then give that data. What I think will be the reality of the world will be like as we come deeper into using Jubilate and we begin to understand how to use Twig better and present our data better, is that we're going to use the theme .theme file less and less and less. I've been on a lot of projects the last couple of years. I mean, I've been in Drupal for 9 years, and normally the old PHP template file usually would run up to be like, at least 1,000 lines of code on a project, because there's all of these things that we want to change, and now we change them with template files instead. So my bet is that we're going to probably not even using this file a lot anymore, but we still have it, so we can still use it. A goal has been for like Jubilate is to not destroy the way that a lot of things have been done. We want to have best of both worlds. We want to have the best possibilities for like straight up front enders who don't know PHP, who don't want to work with PHP, to be able to do stuff. But if you have things you used to do in your pre-process, we don't want to remove that possibility, because then we're just going to have, we don't want to have the front end to fight the back end. I know that people who knows me know that I've been like trying to fight every developer on earth to get a lot of these things in. What I wanted to make sure was, we have been wanting to make sure, like we don't want to destroy the way that people have been doing stuff. We want to change people way they're doing it. But there's a bunch of scenarios where you want to do stuff in your pre-process instead, and of course you should be able to like move them around your theme, so everything don't turn out to be modules instead. So I mean, I hope that we're pretty much not going to use that, and I hope that we're going to push all of our variables directly to the template file. So when we work with Drupal 8 and theming, it will always be in a template file instead of being in a pre-process, where frankly things get way more harder to read, and we want to make this a pleasant experience, even especially for new people coming in. So you're kind of right. Why do we even have it? We have it because of legacy, also because there can be multiple situations where we want to clean out a bunch of template stuff, and we want to present that into one variable. I hope that answered that question.
All right. Next question is by Thanos. It's a slightly longer one, so you'll have to bear with me. He is saying, I'm a big fan of Twig, though the pre-process functions in Drupal 7 help in moving the logic out of the templates. In a large-scale project, example a news portal, I believe that in Drupal 8 we will end up having too much logic in the templates. Front-end only oriented developers should care to handle the data. Is there a workaround or an alternative way to prepare our variables before hitting the Twig files?
Well, either you push it into the pre-process as you've seen here, or make sure that you give the templates the variables that they need instead of already from the module, and prepare all the different variables that you want to give the theme as a possibility to test on. And yes, I know for like a developer's idea of, oh my God, how we're going to do this. Well, if you look at the markup you want to print out, what I would do is always look at what is the end markup you want to print out. How do I make this as easy for the theme to work around? Say you want to do specific stuff based on what's it called? Taxonomy terms that a user have selected. You want to change different data on that. Well, do all that data testing on your module, provide variables that you then prepare inside of your module, you then send to the theme afterwards. So it's all about thinking and splitting it up in a way so the theme can just test on what kind of variables do I have available, and then I can build it up. And yes, there's probably going to be a bunch of templates files for it, but one of the things that I guess that everybody who's been working in the IT industry have been in, especially in the web industry, if we go back to a project that's like more than 3 weeks old, and you look at everything that came into it, it's hard to figure out where stuff came from. It's hard to figure out why did I do this. By putting all of this quote-unquote logic inside of our template files, so you saw how easy it was for me to find a template file, you actually make it easier for everybody later on to figure out how to work with this stuff. And how to find the template, how to manipulate the template, how to manipulate this markup. That's what a template should do. The idea of hiding that down in a module and then just print out just the content variable, that was the situation way back in Drupal 6. Basically, the only thing we got presented inside of a node template was, here's the author information, here's the content. That was the two variables we pretty much had, which meant that it was really, really hard for us to modify the markup the way that we wanted to modify it. To begin to rethink your process, begin to think in a way of like, how do I present variables for the markup that we want to present and put the markup out in the template. That will make you as a developer happy in many ways. First of all of the responsibility of the markup and the CSS and all of that stuff, and keeping the designer and keeping the front end, all of the browsers, all of the different screen sizes, all the mobile phones, all of that stuff away from the mind of a developer. So developers can go back to just thinking how to structure the data, build the data, then provide all the variables out to the template instead. So the templates can build that stuff where it should be built. So this is also about like rethinking the way that we used to do stuff. We don't want to have one kind of markup that does everything. We want to have markup that we can change as we need it to. Because during the lifetime of Drupal 7, what happened was, like about a year after Drupal 7 came out, which is 5 years ago, suddenly this responsive stuff came along. And I can't explain to you guys, or maybe you, those who have been following me on Twitter, have an idea of this, how much I've been like yelling about this, how hard it's been for a lot of us to make like everything work the way we want it to work. Right? So we want to be able to change our markup always at any given time, at any given point, without having going back and like try to after the fact make a module do what we want. Present the variables up to the template, make the template go and do the stuff. And don't be afraid of that you actually have if and else comments inside of a template. Believe it or not, the majority of all front-enders actually understand this stuff a lot. And it's way easier for them to work with when you can touch the data, you can touch the diff, you can touch the classes, you can touch the stuff that comes out, you can modify it around, because we don't know what kind of data and what kind of markup we want to use tomorrow. We have no idea. That was one thing the last 5 years have taught us, and that's the reason we want to change this completely around. Hope that answered your questions, and I know you pressed on the button again of Morten preaching.
I'm sure everybody is still hanging on, so it's cool. Our next question is by Rajiv. He's saying, in Drupal 7, we see a whole lot of div IDs and classes being inserted by core or contrib modules. Has Jubilate got rid of that?
So let me just take the node ID for example. One of the things, let's go over and let me just find the classy theme to show this all. So this is classy. This is all the class. So one of the things that we have IDs all over. The only place we still have an ID is, let me just see here, where's my content? Here's my node. So if you still want to have node ID presented inside of the node, what you would do is you could basically just do this. ID equals node.id, done. Now you'll get your good old node ID. And what we have done, because no good CSS geek is using IDs for anything. IDs is like, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb into your CSS, and we don't want to do that. We want to use classes for that. So we've gotten rid of all of them. Besides right now, what I found out to my horror was, here we go into my block, and that block still have the ID. Here's, by the way, a way to like remove that. So all of the blocks I'm printing on this theme is actually going without an ID on, because I don't want to have ID presented anywhere in my markup unless I need that ID for something very specific. So yes, we removed pretty much all IDs. Let me just show you here's my page template, and this is the specific. Let's take a classes page template. So down in layout we have page, and as we remember back in, if you look at Drupal 7 template there, you will see an awful amount of IDs. Oh, and behold, no IDs. Hooray! We have removed all of them. There's one ID left, ID main content, and the reason that this is still there is, as the comment says, if I just blow this up a little bit, link is in HTML Twig. This is accessibility, where we actually have a reason for having an ID, because it uses the ID as a link. So if you come in with a screen reader, you see it's visually hidden, it's foldable, and it's a skip link. This will tell a screen reader that skip to main content and then send you down to the main content, which now is inside of the page. This is an ID that you actually need for something. And that's why, one of the reasons that we removed the IDs was like, there's no reason for Drupal to put out all these IDs. This is also based on the ways that we used to think CSS should be used. And this goes all the way back to Drupal. I think I came in Drupal 4.7, and at that point we had IDs all over. The reason were there was a misconception of, oh, we're just going to use an ID for writing our CSS, and you shouldn't write your CSS that way, because the specificity of it, hard word to pronounce, but the weight of that CSS rule would get so high that it's almost impossible to overwrite. And we don't want that. And we don't want to have a system that puts out all of these classes, all of these IDs, all of this stuff that your theme is pretty much not going to use. We want to put out a system as close to actually a thing that you would write. So as Drupal core does it now, is doing this instead. And if you want to be very specific and stuff, you can also just use the role main, for example, to identify stuff in. Oh, else put in the class you want, because that's how you should be able to write it. So yes, we got rid of pretty much all of the IDs that you could get them out. It was a big day for me, the day when we finally killed it in the node. It was a long up discussion, because this has been things that we have had at Drupal for years. And when you came into Drupal 8, besides of how we write Drupal 8, how you write a module that use object-oriented, that you do all of these new things, the whole theme system have been reworked. Also how we're doing CSS, also how we're doing markup. Because Drupal 7 is 5 years old. We have changed so many things. And anybody who's working in the front end knows that basically the front end and how we do stuff changes pretty much every second month. And there's no way that Drupal could follow up on that. We've been trying to go with the best practices as we went along. And one of them was ripping out every ID we could find. And you can always add the ID if you want to do that. Let me just find my attributes. You can see here, let's see here, blah, 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 attribute remove class. Here we go, set attributes. If you want to add in an ID somewhere because you need it, put it into the attributes and then put it out. That means that, you know, your div class up here, it goes blah, blah, blah. Then with your attributes, you can do set attributes, and that's going to set in the ID on top of that. If you have another ID already set on that attribute, doing a set attribute will actually override that ID and put in your own ID, which could be a workaround that. But else go around and play with it. Or else you would do like if there's an ID already, you're going to do a pipe and then do a without. That's another way to remove a specific part of an attribute and then add it in afterwards. And that's kind of the tricks around that. Let me see if I have another one I came up with by working around the. Let me see here. I think yes. What you can do as well is you can do. Here's my. This is my markup up here for my block here. Let's see. And if we go in and see, as you can see, let's go all the way up. Here we go. ID top. Let's just, like, for the fun of it, remove this and go. Oh. All right. So let's see if this works out the box. Yes, so you can see now it has the block dash welcome heroes, and that's because what it does out of the box is setting this class. And my problem here is that now my functionality won't work if I want to go to the top. So you can see this link. No calls for going to the top, and it doesn't do that. So how on earth did it do that? Oh, because it can't find anything. Yes, and then it just goes to the top. Anyways, to make it like a scrolling experience instead, I want to make sure that I got a top on it. So I could do, I could start by remove the attribute and just remove the attribute ID. I go and reload. Let's go up and see if I was actually right. So let's just, so to make it a little bit easier for me to, where's my services? I'm just going to kill the debugging. Go like this. Oh, right. Let's see, inspect element. So it's quicker for us to go up. Here we go. Now, I don't even have an ID on it, but I want to add this ID, so I could do that. Where did it go? Where's my block? There we go. Here's my block. And then I could do my set attributes, but I'm just going to override it instead. I could also do the pipe. Which is going to remove it. It's going to do without, so I could actually go up and print that out later on if I want to, or I can just do as I did up here, where I just add in the class main. Let's kill this contextual. Set these top. Let's see if I actually get in. Oh, and by the way, the reason that we always want to do this with these set, add, and move, and so forth, and attributes, else, you could do it like the ugly way, just like not even having anything in, and just go like ID top. You could have a module that want to add something in, and now there's no, attributes. There's no attributes to add them in, so the modules can't add anything. It's like quick edit links or so forth, which I kind of broke because of my CSS overrides everything. That's a small little bug I kind of figured out. I had an hour before I did this presentation, so I didn't have time to remove it. So sorry for that. But The idea is that the theme should be able to modify these classes and so forth. If you see there's like your module has a JS class, something like, let me see if I can find one really quick here. I'm pretty sure that.
Martin, I'm sorry to be jumping in, but you have really, really overshooted the time limit here. We have extended the webinar by 40 minutes, which is quite unusual for us. So I have 4 more questions here, and I would really like to take them up, provided that we really work with a 1 minute per question time frame.
Yes, I will answer that really fast.
Yeah, without getting into too many details, let's just take them really, really quickly. Okay?
I will try that.
Yes, please. Our next question is by Bram. He's saying, at the moment, I use context from Drupal 7 to switch layouts contextually in combination with Omega, for example, on a specific path or on nodes of a specific content type. How can this be achieved in Drupal 8 with Twig and Classy?
Well, so Classy is just the base theme. This is where all the markup comes in. What I would do is, I don't know what Omega is going to do when Drupal 8 comes out, but look at a lot of these things we have no idea of yet how it's going to be built, because we change everything. Context and a theme like Omega. My guess is that Omega is probably going to come out with something, or somebody else is going to come out some kind of contrib to make the same kind of functionality work. But first of all, begin to see how Drupal 8 does stuff. See how it puts out different templates. Use the preprocess hooks to define new preprocess. Let me show this really, really quick. If I go down into my theme file, okay, down here, I do a theme suggestions. If I do it down here on the node. Okay, so down here, if I do this, then it's gonna give me this on the notes. It's gonna give me different other suggestions I can add in. So begin to look into them here and like test on content type, test on all these different things you can test on that you have as variables. Provide a new theme suggestion, and then you can use that on your templates. So Drupal 8 is going to be way more driven on templates and different theme suggestions. That was the short answer.
Thanks a lot for that. That was really quick. Our next question is by Rahul. He's saying, are there any changes in how we write JavaScript code in Drupal 8? Examples for Drupal 8 behaviors, settings, etc.?
I would talk with Nod about that. I'm pretty sure they changed a lot. I've been extremely focused on the markup and the CSS, as that's what's dearest and nearest to my heart. Let me just take this short little JavaScript file I did here for the webinar. It out of the box pretty much do the same as it used to do. Let's take my library here, admin toggle. So I do Drupal behaviors, admin toggle, attach the function as it used to, and so to me this seemed like pretty much the same. I'm pretty sure they changed a lot. I'm no JavaScript expert. I live and breathe in HTML and CSS, to be honest. That's where my thing is. I'm a cross designer, cross markup CSS geek. So I would ping Nod about it. So I'm not really sure. That was the short version.
Yeah. I'm still there with you. All right, that was really, really short for you. Our next question is by Jasper, who's saying, Morten, are you guys planning to do a best practice guide for redoing a theme? Yes, we are. Actually, there is. So we have our hope is that there's the documentation that's just built on D.O, and that's going to be a very overall thing. There is already now in the works, of course I can't remember the URL for it, but in the works we have, there's one of the guys who've been really active around, especially also Front End United, who have been working on doing more of a hands-on guide and best practices. One of the things here is that a lot of us who've been working on this Twig stuff for the last many years have been very focused down into the nitty-gritty of everything.
And not a lot of people have been building like really big themes yet on Jubilate, and that's been kind of an issue. So it's definitely a thing that's going to come out. The group around like the hardcore Drupal Trig group, especially front enders, is a group of like 8 to 10 people. We would love more people coming in, but yes, I'm pretty sure you can expect a lot of the best of. I have a whole bunch of little video instructions I want to record and push out, because I know there's going to be a lot of like, how do we do this? It's totally new on charts territories. There's going to be a lot of dragons that we're going to find. So that will come out, and it's also a good place for everybody who's doing documentation, everybody who's doing webinars and so forth to come up with that. But it's definitely in the plans of things that we want to do. I'm probably going to publish a bunch of them at my column if the Drupal Watchdog wants them, from the angry themer, to figure out, oh, how do you do this best, how do you do that best. The problem we have right now is back in Drupal 7, nobody was really using Drupal 7 before it came out. We all waited until Views came out, which was like 6-8 months after Drupal 7 came out. So a lot of the things kind of turned into be a mess. What we really want to make sure of this time is that we actually have tested this quality assured it first on. So the best thing would actually be if you jump in with the rest of us into the deep ocean and tested out how to do all these things. There's a lot of like little tricks and little things that we are gonna figure out on the way. But you can expect at least one open source published book around this. I can't remember the URL for it. I'm gonna put it out on my Twitter later on when I figure out where it's at. And it might gonna be released actually around DrupalCon in Barcelona. I can't promise anything, but that's at least what I've heard by the rumors in the Drupal world.
Okay, so we have got some pretty cool feedback from Sarah. She's saying thanks very much to Morten for the helpful and insightful session. Really looking forward to a deeper look at Drupal 8 now that I can see that major push for a clean markup as a pure HTML CSS developer. This is very exciting to hear and see. And now we are on to our last question by Thanos, who's asking, performance-wise, are there any benchmarks on template rendering?
As I'm actually not a geek like that. I'm a front-end geek. I'm pretty sure if you jump into Drupal-contribute, there is going to be benchmarks all over for it. I wouldn't be so worried about it. I mean, it's been tested and tested and tested more than again. We would not have gotten this in if it made Drupal extremely slow. If you're really, really, really panicking about this, you can still use PHP Template as your theming engine and doing the stuff you used to do. And going that way, I wouldn't recommend it, because the goal here is actually to make Drupal also an enjoyable performance for themers. But jump into Drupal-contribute and ask around. As far as I know, it wasn't significant, any kind of slower performance. There's so many other things in Drupal 8 that if you run without cache and everything else, that would make it slow. Like the million of database structure. It's not the theme layer that would make anything slow. I hope that was enough of an answer. And I'm really not a back-end performance geek at all. I'm a front-end geek. And let me put it this way, the performance level on the front end of Drupal 7 and the amount of times it took a browser to render all of that markup that came out. So the way a browser renders markup is it starts from the very, very inside of the middle of the page, and then it renders everything out. So by having a trillion divs on a page actually makes it really, really slow to work with. And here's the thing that maybe a lot of people don't think about is, we're looking at browsers. If you're looking at the last version of Chrome or Safari or Firefox or Internet Explorer, stuff is going to be fast no matter what we do. Pick up your iPhone 5 and try to look on a website on that, or iPhone 4. Even with the browsers fairly optimized, sites are slow. Drupal sites are slower. Why? Because it takes forever for the page to render. And that's actually the performance impact that we have right there. So even with your site being completely rendered out on the front end, with a varnish cache, which practically makes it to a flat HTML site, with all of that markup, your page is not going to be fast. If you want to see the world's fastest page, take a completely empty HTML document, put in a hello world in the H1 tag and try to reload that page. You can't get any faster than that. Try then to add in 600,000 divs that some Drupal sites have, maybe not 600,000, 400,000 divs. Add them in and then reload the page again. You will see the impact right away. So by making all the markup come out into a template layer, making sure all that stuff works out right. Or if you as a developer are concerned about the performance of how it goes out, well, you put varnish in front of your page, because then you have like everything cleaned up. Then if you have like 45 different calls to different files all over your site, and you have 25 different CSS files because you want to override everything that Drupal does and so forth, all of these things, that's not going to make your site fast. That's going to make it slow no matter what you do. If you want to have a fast site, you want to have as little markup, as little images, as little anything on the pages. And if you want to completely not work on that at all and just going to use Drupal as a headless system, look into some of the headless solutions that's there, but that has nothing to do with Trig or the template layer. So the panic of us using template files instead is, if you're caching your page anyway and your data is not coming out fast enough, you maybe begin to have to look into how you actually present your data. And if your page is slow, look at the images it provides, look at all of that stuff instead. And I said, go back, look at a single HTML file only with an H1 tag and reload that a couple of times and see how super fast it is. And then take your Drupal site, try to save that just down on your hard disk as a flat file and reload that and see how slow it is. So if you want to talk about fast, that's on the markup, and that's on the amount of HTTP requests you do, and do that instead. That's where it's at. And if you're on your site without cache, well, it wasn't meant to be run without cache, well, at least not in my world, so I wouldn't go with that. Else go completely headless and push out the data that way.
All right, you're a front-end
I hope that was good.
I am sure you're a front-end geek now. that was.
Yeah. No, this is a lot of the things we actually tested, and it was one of the reasons that we began to discuss when we started this process was, what about the speed? And one of the things that any front-end performance optimization, and front-end performance optimization is actually where the big thing is, because when you look at a web page coming into your phone, I just heard from one of the colleagues I have. He was on vacation in Spain, and when you're having data roaming and you try to access a site on vacation out of your own country, the Americans probably don't know this, but especially in Europe, we have data roaming between each country. Me being in Denmark, up in the cold north, means that I'm going to pay a ton of money when I'm going to be in a place like Spain. So to watch one of these huge pages, websites somewhere with the images and everything else, it's going to cost me a ton of money, and it's going to take forever for me to download on my mobile device. It's in the front end where we can do a ton of the optimization. And the back end optimization, what you would do is, you're going to cache all that data anyways, and you'll probably cache it on top of varnish. So the optimization is on the front end, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of backenders who have no idea how you actually optimize your front end. That's the thing we do out in the front end. So just give us the variables, and we're going to make sure that this stuff is going to be blisteringly fast, and you don't ever have to think about design or anything else. Just give us the variables, and we're going to be happy. Push it to Trig, and every little themer, every office I know about in the world that has a theme, a dedicated themer there, they will always be the person who moans and bitches and is most angry about Drupal. Now what you actually is going to see is when you shift to Jubilate, it's going to be a ton of happy people. And that's actually how, maybe I'm not going to be the angry themer anymore when we're done with this. When Jubilate comes out, I'm probably going to find something else to moan about, but that's that time, that fun. Hope that addressed the question about optimization.
I hope that you managed to address all the questions pretty well. And if you guys have any more questions, please mail us to them. Mail them to us, sorry, at webinars@srijan.in, or you can direct your questions to Morten on Twitter at his handle that's given on your screen @MortenDK. And please don't forget to mark our hashtag SrijanWW in your tweet. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much, Morten, for leading such a knowledgeable session. This is likely to be the longest and the most engaging webinar we have had so far. But we're very sure that everybody found your presentation very interesting and insightful. A big thank you to all the attendees for joining us today. You all have been a great audience. Before we close, I would also like to announce that our next webinar, titled Creating an Awesome Organization by Weaving Great Experiences, would be hosted on 19th of August and would be led by Ravi Chabra, a business consultant and a life coach. For registrations and more details, you will be getting a mail from our side. So stay tuned and thank you again for joining us today.